Good morning, good afternoon, Zach. So nice to speak with you today.
Hello, good to speak with you as well.
I am very excited to talk to you about your character Toby in Geek Girl on Netflix. This show was so cute. I loved it. I love a good YA series. And I thought this show also has like such a great message in self-discovery. Because when we're that young, we're so awkward. We're figuring out who we are. We don't like everything affects us like it's the end of the world. So I want to ask you, when working through this series, did it influence your life at all? Was there any moment when you were like becoming an actor where you're like, I have such imposter syndrome, and then here we are?
Oh God, cutting deep immediately. Wow,
Yeah,
yes,
if you want to warm
absolutely.
up, we can warm up if you want to.
Oh no, I'm absolutely that's entirely all right. Let's go. Well, for me, kind of, I don't know what it's like for other people to do it, but when I start doing, especially this job, whenever I start doing a job, you kind of enter into a bit of a bubble where kind of there's a life outside of it, but you're just completely focused on what you're doing and you're talking to the same people every day. And so it's sometimes difficult to gauge. Am I forgetting the question? No, I have it. It's fine. It's sometimes difficult to gauge exactly what shifts a job might cause in your life until afterwards. But I think, I mean, I always, I always end up feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome anytime. Anyway, in fact, I think, I mean, first of all, because I've had to do a couple of these interviews, I've just kind of got like four stock jokes and kind of bits and anecdotes in my head that I'm just rolling out every time. And so if anyone's watching more than one of these, just know you're going to be hearing a lot of this one story. But I remember I was at the read through that was on May 30th last year, so it'll be exactly a year since I met everyone when the show comes out. But I was at the read through. It was the first time I was meeting lots of them. Daisy was sat to my right, who is just spectacular in the show. And Daisy used to be a model. And first of all, since I have my hair out really big then, like I'm trying to kind of lean down to see the rest of the cast performing, but then I also don't want to completely eclipse Daisy who's sat to my right. And so Daisy's to my right. And then Rochelle, Emily, Liam, and Manny are on my left. And I just kind of look down the table. I just look at the camera where it's beaming everything that's happening to LA and Canada. And it just kind of lands for me in that second. Oh, okay. So all of these people were cast to look like they could be like models and supermodels. And I was cast to look like I could have, quote, the air of a meerkat.
Oh, stop.
That kind of that was in the character description I first read, and I just kind of look around and I was like, touche. And so that kind of was a so that kind of but you always end up feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I felt it sometimes because I was braced to have a lot of freedom on this show in how I interpreted the book in and just in pretty much every scene, I was given the opportunity to kind of put my own spin on things and add my own stuff in. And so sometimes when you're being trusted that much with something that loads of people really care about, you can sometimes start to get into your own head and feel like, oh, am I screwing this up? I'm fooling everybody to thinking I'm doing an okay job, but it won't last long. So just say at this moment where everybody still thinks you're okay at your job. But yeah, it comes into it definitely.
I love. So you said Toby, the description of him was like the air of a meerkat.
The alert air of a meerkat was in, I think it was something that was used in the book. And it was definitely something that I used to hone in on the character when I was during the audition process.
I love that. So talk to me a little bit about
Mm.
Toby and who he is to you, because I think he's so pivotal in Harriet's like big epiphany moments. So
Mm.
talk to me about kind of building him, I guess, off a little bit of that meerkat, but also how you saw him. I love getting in the brain of actors.
For me, so something that was really helpful was our amazing costume designer, Lucia, and her work in helping us find the costuming really helped. Because with Toby, I feel like part of part of Toby's mental status is that obviously fashion is a big deal across the show, and I wanted him to have his own connection to it. And I think for me, it was that Toby's very specific about how he dresses, in every way apart from how he looks. I think he's for him dressing is about it's about ritual, and it's about comfort, and it's about feeling like himself rather than considering himself like looking like himself. And so on the one hand, he's taking lots of care with making sure his waistcoat is sitting correctly on him, and making so his pocket watch, which I think I have his pocket watch somewhere, making sure his pocket watch is sitting right in that, but then also his collar's just completely skew whiff and his tie's not really done right, just because that's not what he's never looking in the mirror while he's dressing himself. And that was something that I thought was that helped me connect to him. But mostly Toby, as I see him, he's constantly in his own world, and I think sometimes he feels a bit unconnected to his immediate surroundings at school and in maybe in his life at home as well. But I think Harriet for him is kind of like a one of the very few places of connection he has to his immediate surroundings, and one of the very few feelings of not being solitary, which I don't think he has a problem with, but it it becomes tiresome sometimes to be just kind of independent on your own. And he's very okay with himself, and that was something that was kind of interesting to play. Somebody, because whenever you're an actor, you're always looking for like, oh, the pain or the loss or the kind of, oh God, how does he just despise himself? But with Toby, he's got that kind of center and peace to him. He doesn't have, at least not in what we explored this season, he doesn't have any of that stuff going on, which was interesting to play. And so I think, and as you say, that element of him is crucial to how Harriet starts to see herself throughout the course of the show. And I think sometimes I come to the end and I feel like I should wrap it up with something, and I'm just like, oh, I kind of did already. That bit's over. And so that's it. That's the end of that lengthy answer.
I like it. I feel like it's something that a lot of people can relate to. I know myself growing up, I very much relate to a geek girl. I was an outsider, things like that. And then something when Harriet figures out like this is what she wants to do. I love that she does like a PowerPoint presentation of like successful people. Like it's not that crazy. These are the successful models and actors. So if you had to make a PowerPoint presentation for your career and why, like who would be on yours and why being an actor is not so crazy? Who would be like your 5 people?
I mean, first of all, it is objectively kind of it's objectively a ridiculous profession to take on. Just kind of sometimes when I introduce myself to people, I just like to say, "Yes, I am Zach. I pretend for money. Thank you." And that's most of it. But I think for me, Rami Malek probably, just because all of his performances capture a certain vulnerability that I feel like it's a certain kind of vulnerability that you see so rarely in leading men, and that I hope we start to see more. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor as well, just because he has such gravitas in everything that he does, which feels great. And also maybe Adam Driver, just because he does everything in a way that feels really natural, but also kind of it feels right and it feels truthful, but it's also always entertaining and slightly out there in a way that makes it always entertaining to watch.
You got one more. Who's the last one?
Oh, last one. Okay. Olivia Colman's great.
Yes. I love that. And then my last thing for you is because we like to put this on social media. So just imagine it on TikToks. Give everyone the pitch. Like, why should everyone check out Geek Girl on Netflix?
Well, let's see. First of all, I think it has such a brilliant cast, obviously. No. But it has such oh, Jesus, no. Oh, that's just going to be the only bit that goes out there. It's going to be has such a brilliant cast. Of course, because it includes me. Then just cut. But so everybody is so charismatic and so funny, but also feels like they have such heart at the center of all of their characters, which feels so wonderful. It was a great cast to be a part of, and it's a show that anybody who has at any time felt like they didn't fit in, but felt like they had something driving them to discover themselves and explore the world. Anybody who's ever felt like that, is that, does that a sentence make sense? Yes, yes, it does. Anybody who's ever felt like that, I feel like is very much able to connect to the show, and it's based off a really great book.
Perfect. Nailed it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Zach. I hope everyone checks out Geek Girl on Netflix. Like I said, I did love it. I thought it was so cute and so fun.
Thank you. I'm glad.
It was lovely to meet you. Thank you so much.
Yes, you too.